Humans. This month's free range human conversation is with writer Sally Andrew, mother of the Tannie Maria Murder Mystery series. And we had this conversation to celebrate the launch of her new book called Wild Things Never Die. And today is Thursday, the 7th, and you can now buy a copy of her book in your local exclusive books if you're watching this in South Africa. Sally is somebody that I've known for a long time, and she is what I would call, in free range human terms, a born free. Sally grew up in a home where she was encouraged to express herself fully, to follow what feels good, and to create her own story, which she has now taken to the next level with her books. I loved having this conversation with her because it felt really adjacent to the beauty course that is coming up in June. It is called Living in the Field of Beauty. And for the purposes of this course and my own definition of beauty is that which awakens a sense of aliveness in us. And I think that is something that is so clear in Sally, in who she is. She's somebody who follows that which awakens aliveness in her. And as we speak about in this conversation, we've both had chronic fatigue syndrome. And the reason why I started Free Range Human was really to sit with this question around aliveness. How do we remain connected to an inner sense of aliveness when externally, for whatever reason, whether it is the constraints of modern life or whether it is a chronic illness or whatever it may be, how can we keep a sense of beauty and nurture a sense of inner beauty within us, regardless of our circumstances? So I hope you'll enjoy this conversation with Sally. I certainly did. And if you would like to join Living in the Field of Beauty, it runs over Tuesdays in June. In 3 weeks' time, we kick it off. And I will drop a link to my website below, and it would be lovely if you came. Enjoy this conversation with Sally Andrew.
Hello, Scatterball.
How's it? How are you, Sal?
I'm fine. Life is all things. Difficult and easy and wonderful. So at any point I'm fine and things are moving through. I want to show you the beautiful place that I'm at, since we started off talking about beauty and moved on to talking about freedom and wildness. And I'm just in such a beautiful, free, wild place. I don't know if I can show it to you easily.
My goodness. Wow.
This is my internet cafe, my neighbor's stoep.
Jeez.
And I live, I'll see if I can show you so I live kind of, you can't see where I live, but it's in that direction for a couple of Ks if you walk down that road.
Beautiful.
How lucky am I that this is my home. But I think let me sit inside so the light is better. But just feel this place around us, these beautiful mountains, the Toesberg, the little streams flowing up to the rains. So let that be part of our talk. I hope you come visit here one day.
We'll call them in. We'll call them into the conversation.
The mountains, the streams, the birds, the sun, the earth.
Yay. Yay.
Thank you. And thank you for what you're doing. I just think it's such a cool idea. Talking to free-range humans, and also what you shared a little bit in one of your messages, that it's part of your own healing journey, which anything we do, that's how it should come from. And then we share it.
Absolutely.
So cool.
And I'm so grateful that you are here talking to me today, as you are an exceptionally inspiring free-range human in my humble estimation. And in what I know about you, you are such a playful, magical, wild human being. You have a spirit, you have a free spirit. You're free spirited, and when I'm with you, I have an immediate sense of spaciousness and possibility and openness
Oh,
that I find really inspiring. So
oh.
thank you for being here, Sally Andrew. I was hoping that you would do me the honor of introducing yourself today because there's much to say about Sally Andrew, and I always think that you would probably do a better job of it than I would.
Sure, it's an interesting idea, isn't it? How you introduce yourself. What you summarize your, like, 58 years as. I spent a lot of time being an activist, anti-apartheid activist, anti-capitalist activist, environmental activist. And then, so I was around in the 80s, so that kept me quite busy. I finished school in 84. And then I got really ill, and that was a big part of my career, probably a couple of decades. Lay in bed. You know the story. Um, with ME, myalgic encephalomyelitis. And then I kind of gave myself permission. So before I was doing all the things I should do and I was driven to do for the earth and for the country and for the planet, and I was very driven by what I should do and what I was felt responsible for. And I think my illness gave me permission to just do some of what I loved, which turned out to be writing. And first of all, it was writing on themes. I did a lot of adult education kind of writing around domestic workers, around violence against women. And then I did a book about the environmental crisis, which I combined with personal creative nonfiction writing, and it was such fun. And I got some good encouragement from someone who said, well, can write really well. I can't really publish this book. I did self-publish it, and it did get published in the end by Findhorn Press. That was Stories for Fire Dogs. Um, and but I just got encouraged enough by publishers who said, if you ever write anything kind of normal, send it to us. So then I wrote what I thought was a normal book. It was a fiction book about this gorilla, sort of an environmental gorilla, and the sand bushman guy, Harmony and Happy, The Smell of Rain, it was called. And I had such fun doing it. But it turned out also not to be it was sort of crime, but I didn't have a murder and I didn't have so it didn't really fit into a genre, but I was bitten with the pleasure of writing fiction. And then worked out, no, I must write in a genre. That I like. So I really like the murder mysteries, Agatha Christie, but kind of more feel, not the hectic, gory stuff. So I wrote in a genre that I'd enjoy, and I brought into it my environmental interest, my political interest, my psychological interest, my spiritual interest. So at the same time as the kind of political creative, I've also always had an interest in healing, which was kind of forced upon me by 20 years of researching different kinds of healing modalities. So another part of so I'm a writer, if I identify myself, and I'm also a healer. Although a lot of that work, of the healing work, was to do with healing myself, because that's always how we learn, I guess. And now I do something called biofield tuning, where I work with tuning forks that you've had some experience of. But there were two other things I did in my healing process that were also big parts of my kind of activity. One was something called the lightning process, which was a kind of neuro-linguistic visualizing activity that, and then the other was this biofield tuning. And the way it also came about and relates to my writing is I suddenly became, well, I don't know, who was it who quoted, Margie Orford quoted someone else saying, it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. So I sort of suddenly in my life got an agent for a book and a half that I'd already written, and was taken on by the amazing Isabel Dixon who's also a Karoo Macy, but she's in London. And I was suddenly like the Cinderella of the Frankfurt Book Fair. And I mean, now I ended up with like 23 publishers in a short space of time and 15 languages. And it was all like your wildest dream stuff. But I wasn't well enough for it. I was still only had a few hours a day I could function. And I'd need to lie in bed most of the time. I only had so many hours. And I thought, I've got my dream, but I'm not up for it. So I'd better get my A into G. And I used my first advance to go and do this thing called the lightning process in London, which took a while to take effect, but it did. One of my other healing modalities was 17 days fasting, water only. That made a little bit of difference, but then the big differences was this thing called the lightning process. And then after that, the um, biofield tuning, where I work in the electric field with tuning forks. And some of that, the healing was the actual what it did for me, electrically clearing blocks, raising my voltage. But some of it was also really just stepping into my own power as a free wild human and the giving the healing work. So it wasn't just a receiving, it was the being active in my power, doing my stuff. So short answer, writer, healer, but I'm also a partner of a man of 26, 27 years we've been going, I think. I lose count. And I'm a daughter of a mother who's going to be turning 87. And I'm a neighbor of these lovely Karoo men. So we had dinner with last night. I can smell the rusks. They're nearly ready. And I'm an aspirant doo-wop girl. I'm learning to sing. I love to sing, but I'm not a natural singer at all. Usually at the beginning of one of my launches, I sing a song, I sing in public. It's terrifying, but it gives me a focus.
Tell me about that. It gives you a focus. What does it do for you when you have your launch?
Then I don't worry about the things I'm going to say. I just focus on a creative activity. And I don't, because I've got a super overactive brain, which a friend of mine thinks may be related to something he also had, which is at birth, before birth, I'd go into a decompression unit, which was fashionable in the day, where you go into this sort of space suit. My mother goes into the space suit, and it makes a sort of vacuum that makes space in the womb for more blood to flow to the brain. So it was popular in those days, but I know one other guy who did it, and he's also kind of irritatingly clever. I did have a concussion, which knocked out some of the cleverness and brought me a bit back into balance. But I do have a very busy brain, and when it's linked with the anxiety function, it can disable me, disturb my sleep, etc. So at a launch, if I've got something like, what outfit am I wearing and what am I going to sing? I've got a little irrigation pipe I'm going to play. Then I can focus on that and just practice that. Every time I think, oh, who am I going to forget to thank? And is it all coming? And will I remember to thank her properly? And what am I going to say? And what are they going to ask? And
Well, I love that. So,
I
I
just
mean,
sing.
that is exactly why I think you are a free range human. You use kind of play and expression in a way that allows you to slip out of the
Tricks.
anxiety and the stress that all of that brings. That's phenomenal. I love
Tricks.
that.
Tricks. Because we're all, I mean, when you say, oh, you're free range human, I'm not really. I'm full of my own angsts and troubles and journeys and problems and conflicts and but I'm always getting more free of them. I'm seeking the play. I'm bringing awareness to, does this work? Doesn't this work? And when I'm doing a stupid habit, I stop it. That's what the lightning process actually is, a training process. You stop and you see the pathway you're on, and then you choose another neurological pathway and you build that and you change, the highways of stress, you shut them down and you build up rivers of joy, rivers of play.
Well, look, I don't think that free range humans definitely have their troubles. There's no doubt about that. We all do. But I think for me, free range humans are people who have have the ability to think for themselves, make their own lives, and live on their own terms.
Yeah.
And I think that you have that. And I want to go back. You mentioned your 87-year-old mother earlier.
She's eating the chocolates and drinking. My books were delivered, and she's with chocolates and wine. And I said she can go ahead and eat the chocolates and drink the wine and read the book.
Good. I wonder if you think your mother is a free range human and if she has impacted your ability to be a free range human, and your father for that matter as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, my whole family definitely of a more free range variety. I sort of remember sometimes even when we're pushing my dad through hospital, I think there were three of us, and we were all just laughing and joking with the people around us, and we're in this sort of dire situation, but we just made a play of it. My dad was good at he's good at he makes my launches more entertaining. He always you have an event, you have a celebration, you celebrate and you provide entertainment, and that's part of what you offer when you have an event. So he trained us to do that. And but I think all my family, I was once giving one of my nephews a lecture, why hasn't he held down a job? And I looked at all of my family and all of Bo and my partner's family, and none of us have worked for other people for more than a few months. We're all self-employed. So we're not used to bosses. And we're lucky enough to be of the privileged class that we're not subject to what other people say and do, or telling us what to do, that we have that sort of freedom. But also even in our employment, we've always found our own ways, things that we enjoy and a way of getting paid for it. But my mother's definitely a wild thing. She really dances to her own rhythm and plays her own games, and she's the queen of her domain. And still at 87, she's full on the queen and incredibly emotionally sharp, um, and really just driving her own destiny in her own way, in her own terms, and also very driven by love. So I think any true freedom comes from love and connection. So I think any people who can influence and help learn you how to love, give you that freedom.
So what is love? What true freedom comes from love? What is this love business?
What is this love business? This love business, I don't know, it's actually quite big themes in my latest book, Wild Things Never Die, Tannie Maria Mystery. We'll talk about Tannie Maria just now. But the themes are choosing connection over control and love over fear. So I think love's kind of that mushy feeling you get sometimes in some situations, and you just learn to expand it. Like you just learn to expand it in yourself, where you give it and where you receive it. Um, and I also think in a way, love is this neutral thing that happens when you stop giving yourself and others trouble. It's kind of a natural state of being, especially I feel it maybe when I'm in nature, and I'm not fussing and I'm not worrying and I'm not stressing. So love isn't actually, it's less of an activity. To some extent, it's an activity that you expand. You love a little kitten, you be aware of that feeling, you expand it in your body. But it's also when you stop putting effort into being tense, into putting yourself down, into uh, wanting to be something that you're not, into all the things that we're kind of encouraged to do in all the advertising and media and ego driven, like you're not enough mentality, which I think is a kind of from tuning work I've discovered it's actually in most people, it's kind of almost like a virus that's in most humans, this notion of not being worthy. So as soon as we stop doing the rubbish, we fall into a natural state of love, because the things around us in nature are so beautiful and so cute and so loving and so like, oh my gosh, like sometimes when I'm in the right state, I see this little Karoo violet on the ground, and it's like this little posy of gray leaves and then this deep, soft, velvet purple flowers. It's just so unnecessary. It's such an act of love. When I first saw that, I just fell down on my knees and I cried. Like, look at this gift from the earth for me to see. There might be not another human who sees it. And just loving it and appreciating it. And those kind of love things are what happen when I stop doing the nonsense. When I stop one could also say it's a left and right brain thing. If you go, what's her name? Jill, who wrote Stroke of
Faulty
Insight?
Taylor.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
just listening to one of her YouTubes. When you stop the left brain worrying planning, which is very useful, and it's your brain's trying to help you, you know? It's trying to help you, it's trying to protect you, and it's amazing. Thank you, brain. I love you. You're amazing. But you're not the boss. And I want you to serve me. I don't want you to drive me. So one could see it as that moving to that right brain. And in the right brain, which is also something one gets to experience more when you dance, when you sing, when you write, when you walk in nature, then you fall into the natural state of love and connection. That's my theory today.
I love that. And yes, I'm reminded of the previous interview that I did. We spoke about the world wanting to be admired by us. And when I have that image of you in my head looking at the Karoo earth and seeing that flower,
Violet.
there is something about the beauty of admiring it and the world sort of going, yes, thank you, Sally Andrew,
Yes,
for
it
seeing
feels
us, for
like
being with
it.
us.
It feels like, and I read that article of yours and I found it very interesting. And it's something Bowen's always said to me, my partner, who's an artist, that nature and earth loves being appreciated. And I'd never kind of seen that. I'd always seen it as a bit of a one-way street, It's all there to serve us, this beauty and our food and our air, etc. But more recently, and it's actually something I touched on in the book with Tannie Maria, who visits a nature reserve, is this awareness that we're not only receiving from nature, but even our out-breath. The tree breathes in. It breathes in. We're giving it carbon dioxide. We're actually useful. We're not like nasty little viruses, which I think I used to think when I was just doing the environmental work, that we're just horrible little viruses that the earth must shuck off. So because we're busy destroying it. But in our natural states, in our free range states, literally every breath we give is breathed in by the tree and they love it. And they love being loved. They're connected and they appreciate each other. And I have noticed when I talk to trees, for example, they really love the birds. They really love being visited. And I met this leadwood tree in Botswana that was so sad because the bird that usually returns, because a lot of birds are migratory, hadn't come back this year. And it was so sad. It missed this bird, this returning bird. And I relate to that. If our swallows didn't return, I mean, they come 1st of September every year, then it is sad. And nature has this passionate connection. And I found it also with tuning work. My most challenging stuff is tuning animals like the bees. There were some bees that were moved at our house because they'd moved. They live in a tree, but then moved into a room and we moved them out. And they were so traumatized when they were separated from their hive because they're bounded by this kind of love thing. So emotions they're different, but they're intense. And there's a lot of love going on. In a different kind of way from what we'd call romantic love. There's a lot of connection. There's a lot of functional, supportive connection. And I guess that's what I call love. And I also like to believe that the ether itself is made of neutral, beautiful love. And even the ugly stuff that happens, it's all part of the interesting experiment, what makes us grow and evolve. But that's my story. I think it's important to make up a good story for yourself. That's good to live by. Because there's a lot of stuff we don't know. We don't know.
Mm.
And if you can make up a story that makes you have a happier life and an easier relationship to death of yours and others, and it doesn't have any downsides, even if we don't know if it's true. There's a lot of stuff we don't know. So I like to make up a good story.
You do make up a good story, Sally. Okay, wait. So I love this. I love what you're talking about because I suddenly have this memory and this image of having spent some time with your family, going to one of your family gatherings where it is completely normal and completely natural for everyone to come and do a performance. You say a poem, you tell a story, you sing a song, you do something. And I mean, we
So,
used to do that when we were children,
yeah.
in my family, back in the 60s and the 70s and the days before television sets and such things. I think it was probably a lot more common to do that.
Definitely. We were definitely pre-TV. We were definitely expected to entertain each other and encouraged early on to be brave, to stand up, say, and do something in front of people.
And there's something about what you're speaking about and a play. Somebody who comes from a background of performance, what I'm struck by is this idea of life being a play. And and picking the play that you want to be in and the meaning you want it to have, and then performing in it and showing up and having a voice and making it up as you go along in a way that's beautiful for you.
Yeah, and you're doing it. You're doing the performance not for the accolade of I want to get the, but you're doing it. You're doing it as a gift for others, and you're doing what feels good for you. So, for example, at launches, I'm doing it as a celebratory. I'd much rather not. I like to sing and dance, but I'd rather do it on my own by the river with a bunch of friends. I would rather not be the center of attention of people watching me and performing. But I am not an actress by nature. I don't get off on that. I don't thrive on it. It doesn't give me a thrill, but I feel it's a ceremony of gratitude to people who are making it possible for me to sit and write my book and live my story and spend most of my time under a rock in the Karoo or in a stream or doing creative work as much as I can. So it's an act of celebration and gratitude. Um, I mean, I'm not saying I don't have an ego, and it helps if people say that was good or you look nice or tell me if there's a big, smudge of makeup or something. So, I mean, I'm not free of ego, but that what motivates me is gratitude and celebration and honoring an event that many people have helped to create. Because writing a book and being able to making a living out of a book are two completely different things. And you need a whole team who are going to help you and a lot of readers who each going to, you're going to add up all their 20 rand I get per book to make enough for a living. So it's a group project. So I step out of my comfort zone. It's much easier to talk to you because I'm imagining it's just you. But when it's a crowd of people, it's not comfortable and it takes energy and it's a job. And I usually don't sleep quite a lot in that time, which takes a strain on my body and I go a little have setbacks with health. But it's so it's learning about performance not as a way of showing off, but as a way of giving entertainment, which I guess all performances and a freedom of expression. And finding that right place. Someone's first advice when I was starting with the PR stuff is be yourself, but not too much.
Yes. And Sally, Andrew, you've also got a kind of a natural ability to express yourself fully in the moment. When you feel something, you can acknowledge it and you can feel it in a way that I think for most battery humans would be difficult to do. I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
saying that very well, but you can feel what you feel and acknowledge it and be with it completely.
Yeah. So that's a sort of, I mean, I think it's something you may relate to. It's also the gift, initially the curse, but also the gift of healers is being able to feel into something and process it instead of pushing it down. So when we push down what we feel, well, for all of us as humans, when we push it down, we get sick. But I think as sort of HSP, highly sensitive people and people in the healing and creative arts, we feel things strongly. We feel things really strongly. And we need to learn how to manage that for ourselves. And we need to learn that sensitivity. So most of it for me is I'm just running away. I can't read the news. I can't see people. I'm coming to live in the Karoo. But I've learned mainly through this tuning work how to ground myself and how to let something move through me. Um, and then also how to do that for other people. So when I do tuning work for people, I can find their fear or their sadness or their anger. And what is also Bolt Taylor says, it takes an emotion 1.5 minutes of a wave if you let it move through you. And I let it move through me and I ground it into the ground and I help to free them of that knot. And it's just the most wonderful thing. Like I can let myself sort of suffer, but it's not really, it's just a sensation moving through my body. I ground it, it's gone, and then the other person feels amazing. So it's like seeing this thing that used to be this curse, oh, you're too sensitive, and learning how to use it and manage that, both in terms of doing creative work, but also managing healing emotions with myself and others and the world and trees, and I tune dog, tune lions and cats, and just being able to have this connection with the world that allows me to bring freedom. Because that's what healing is really. It's stuck. There's stuck and block things in us. And there are different ways we let them be free. So every modality is about that, really. It's around clearing the obstacles, so that you can be what you are, how you are. It's not about fresh input. It's about letting things flow. I mean, anything you look at has got that as an underlying principle. Well, except for maybe Western medical science. But any healing modality is essentially finding freedom, relaxation, so your natural order can do its thing.
Okay, so let's go deep here, Sally Andrew. So we've both had this thing called ME.
ME,
So
myalgic
this,
encephalomyelitis, chronic fatigue
yes,
syndrome. Yep, yuppie flu.
yes, that thing that we've both had slash I have,
Yep,
and that really is why I started this project, because
yep.
when I turned 50, I suddenly went, oh shit, what if I never recover? I've had this thing for 16 years, and I've gotten better and I've gotten worse and I've gotten better and I've gotten worse. And if I'm never going to get well, how can I still have an inner sense of aliveness and connection and love and beauty in how I relate to the world? How can I be a free range human without having an athletic body and running around outside in the chicken yard like other people do? And I've had the privilege of watching you learn these healing modalities, the lightning process, which you've mentioned, and learning tuning and slowly seeing you sort of come into life in this more full and expressed way. What have you learned about aliveness from chronic illness? What did you learn from CFS or ME?
Sure. Well, just as to say, yes, I am. And literally now I can come first in my age category in the park run, and I still can't get over it. All those days of lying down. I mean, there was times I couldn't brush my hair. I mean, you know what it's like, but maybe people listening don't. It's not a psychological illness. It's a physical illness, and you actually too exhausted, too brain fogged, too body ached. People can't see it. They don't understand it. So they think you just, I don't know, being a lazy git. Or you just depressed, as if depression is just a thing. Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful I had ME rather than depression. I mean, depression can kill you faster. Lost a dear friend to depression. It's really this horrible heavy blanket, but with ME you can still have, like you say, a little bit of that free range thought. You can still be happy, you can still smile, but your body is stuffed. It's dysfunctional. It's immune system. I mean, the different theories about it. One of them for me was an overactive immune system. So learning to totally chill, which I still haven't really learned. But anyway, so your question was, what has it taught me? So I do think that since being ill, I have become more free range because, like, I did grow up quite free range. I remember pictures of us on the boat and we're all naked going down the river. We had that kind of freedom. And early on, I learned I love to dance. And at a public event, I'd know I feel uncomfortable being watched, but I feel really good dancing, and I'd weigh up the two. And I think the good feeling is more important to me than the embarrassed feeling. So I did make those conscious choices early on. But since being ill, there were so many things I couldn't do. And now, now I must not do them because someone might look at me funny, you know? So now whenever I can swim or run or dance or, I mean, not entirely, but it's just the absolute joy I mean, I go to near dancing with Gail's Skuman when I'm in Cape Town, and it's just leaping around with nymphs in the forest and just this freedom of body movement. And maybe I'm uncoordinated, or maybe, I mean, actually, when I first went to dance classes, I wanted to cry because I couldn't follow the moves at all. Um, and but just stepping into the joy of being alive and the gift of having a body on the earth after all the years of a body that just didn't really work and gave me so much trouble. And it just gives a bit of sense of perspective. And I met one dancer who was probably, I don't know, mostly in a situation. I go on these 7-day dance retreats, which are awesome. With Brian Bergman at Heart and Soul or conscious dancing. And I get more and more free over the time. And I've noticed that I'm just feel freer. I mean, there are other people who are much better dancers, but I reach a state of just, this is just my soul dancing for the glory of God, even though I don't really believe in glory or God. But I get into that state. And there was one woman who was more crazy and free than me. And then she told me the story. She's twirls. She said she went into a coma where her entire body stopped working. And she slowly worked through crawling. And then in that extremeness of reclaiming life, there's just that like freedom feeling, like just now I can do it and the appreciation of it. And I think I'm still, even though I can do the park runs and I'm much better, etc., I'm still got that sensitive constitution and things can get thrown off, especially in my sleep. So, and then the new problems that come as you get older, bone density and menopause stuff. And oh my God, it's so unfair. Finally, like cure yourself and then all this old lady shit starts. And so there is stuff there always, but I think it's definitely helped me appreciate. And even when I was so fraught, I just like appreciate when I could walk for 10 minutes because there was the first thing that shifted my health was when I did a 17-day water fast. I've been radical about I haven't gone the approach of, like some people I met with ME is like they're Buddhists and no, they've just gone to a space of acceptance. I didn't accept it for a minute. I don't accept any suffering for a minute. I mean, I live with it and I know it's there, but I'm always looking. If this doesn't work, what's that? There must be a way out. And just I also just see, I stay with these I see you've been following the route of Christianity. And I would stay with these where I'm now, these Christian neighbors who talk about the herbs, that these are gifts from God. And whether you see it as that or not, there's so many modalities. There's so many healing modalities. There's so many offerings. There's so many ways of pursuing. And there's so much beauty that these are gifts there for us all the time. So I'm chasing them and I'm driven. And the drivenness has got me so far, but I also am now learning to receive without being driven. So I know that both things are true. So I suppose like the question of what my illness teaches me, I mean, it's like life, it teaches you everything. Teaches me the drive, but it also teaches me the receive. And sometimes my story gets thrown, but I like to believe. I like, essentially also you used to get those notes from the universe, which just has the sense that the whole universe is there cheering for you. I was also cheering for you and you and you and you, but in terms of my own life, to be constantly reading and looking for support. And if I'm pushing too hard or I'm trying to control something too much, then I'm not listening and I'm not receiving. And I'm getting stuck in a victim mode. And that doesn't mean there aren't times to mourn. And I've done a lot of grieving and lost a lot of years. I haven't had kids. My career started decades later. I mean, I started, 2016? That's 10 years ago, 48, my career took off. That's not too early. Before that, I did various things, but I only really stepped into what I was doing later. I could do a lot of grieving and blaming and victiming. And although, as I say, it's important to acknowledge loss and sadness and grieving, it doesn't, being stuck in any victim state, it's not wrong. It's not wrong. It's understandable and it's fine and it's not to be judged, but it doesn't take me forward. It doesn't take me forward.
So how did you keep moving forward? How did you not just become a bitter person and say, why is this happening to me, and close the door and disappear and not write? What was it that allowed you to stay connected instead of control and have love rather than
Instead of
fear?
fear. It's a constant choice all the time. I mean, I've certainly done those things, but I've had enough fun and beauty that I'm close to and that I pursue to keep me going. So if there's a stream I can climb into, it brings me joy. So just following what gives me pleasure, really. and the writing's given me pleasure. Living here gives me pleasure. Doing the things that just feel good, dancing, singing.
Mm.
And then I also, when I get into routines, it really helps me. So if I exercise and I write and I do tuning in a day, I'm just damn happy. I'm damn happy. And if I can get into a body of water, even if it's a shower or a bowl or a lappy, so those are when I get into those routines. So I am. There's an aspect in which I'm disciplined, probably not compared to most people who would normally be called disciplined. But I love, there was a saying by, I don't know if it was his own quote, Enoch, one of the long distance runners from Kenya. Only the disciplined are free. Otherwise, we're a whim. We are at the whim of our weird moods and other people's weird moods. So setting the intentions of this is what I'm going to do. And by and large, I'll fall out of it for a week or two, but I feel so good if I run or now I do workouts with weights. I can't believe I do such things. I did injure myself, which is quite exciting. I got like an injury from weightlifting and I haven't lifted them for ages. It was so exciting. So, I mean, because I couldn't do any of that stuff, like, wow, I'm lifting up 5 kilos. Look at me. Um, well, I don't know who's looking at me. It's the trees looking at me, but I'm so excited. I'm doing this stuff. So it's not the discipline or you must do this. It's like I feel when I run, especially running here in the Karoo with the trees and the birds and the light, and I just feel so good. So the discipline is also the discipline to follow what I love and what makes me feel good. So that's the exercise aspect. There is a diet aspect, but I'll also I must have Venus cake now and again. But if I eat a lot or too much, then I don't feel good. So I'm not following it because it's bad or wrong or anyone's judging me or makes me worthy or unworthy or I'm a sinner or not a sinner. It's just being able to apply the logic of doing what feels good. And it also feels good for me to do good things for others. So it doesn't lead to be a selfish thing. One of the most lovely things I did yesterday, I did a whole lot of media that I had to do and book launches coming up and getting involved in publicity statements and things that I'm kind of good at, but I don't really enjoy. But I sat for half an hour and I held Omar's hand, and Omar's 102 and she can't stand up anymore. She's the parents of the neighbors where I'm sitting here. And it just felt lovely. I just ran this current of love through her body, holding her left and her right hand. And I imagined the water in my body bubbling up and sparkling and sent that water, like I get in the pools here. I felt that in the water in my body and I sent that to the water in her body. And slowly her repetitive loop of I'm so sad, I'm so lonely, you don't know what it's like, which went round and round. In between, there'd be another sentence of I'm so grateful to have you here and this place is really good to me. And look, there's my husband on the wall and he was going to come and return. So there'd be this looping, but I just stay with it and give love. And it felt good to me. So that feeling good to me, sometimes it can also help others. And it felt good to me that it seemed to help her a bit. Certainly it couldn't do any harm. And she said, you can come every day. I can't come every day, but she's showing me it feels good. So
Yes.
that pursuit of feeling good in yourself spreads. It's
Yeah.
not that the bad habit that I used to get into is the worry and anxiety and trying to fix others and thinking I know better. That was the wrong kind of caring and the wrong kind of healing. And it's been a lifetime
Yes.
of trying to get out of that habit. So that,
Yeah.
with that Oma example, it felt good, but also because I can separate from her. She's not so close to me that I keep worrying about her.
So, Sally, I am wondering what your relationship with beauty, with the word beauty is, and how beauty fits into the life of a Sally Andrew.
Beauty. I thought about it a lot when we first planned this, but now I've forgotten everything. So I was thinking about freedom. Beauty, I feel, is, I mean, I'm very aware of it in the physical beauty around me, just the beauty of nature and the gift of that, and the birds and the flowers. And I'm just in awe of just the unnecessary, extreme beauty that makes me thinking that they're creator or creators involved, but either way, it's just, and every sunset and every cloud. And I sort of feel beauty is the reward for sticking it out on earth. It's the antidote to suffering. And it's always available in nature all the time, even if you can see the sky, the clouds, they're just these artworks all the time. I mean, I don't know how artists can bother to compete with anything. I mean, just visual artists, why create something when people can just look around, you know? Guess they're trying to capture it in a way that it's shared. But so I see beauty as yeah, as the gift we are given to help us with hard times. Um, and it's not always possible to see. So it's a bit of a catch-22. You've got to get out of your headspace to see the beauty, and you've got to see the beauty to help you get out of your headspace. But the thing that more recently I really enjoyed and experienced was, and it happened, is to become part of the beauty. And not in the, I mean, I think as a feminist and as a socialist, I've rebelled against a lot of the notions of beauty and what you must look like, and oh, well, I'm not going to dress like that or bother about this. And I've only discovered lipstick in the last 5 or 10 years. It's so cool. So I'd rebelled against those beauty kind of things, but now I had it when I was I was at in the Cape, on a little beach near Boulders, surrounded by this water that was sparkling, and all around me was the beauty. And I've suddenly felt I'm in the beauty. I'm not looking at the beauty. I'm in the beauty. I'm of the beauty. And that's so cool and so weird that I should ever have separated myself from the beauty. And now I aspire to be beautiful now. I mean, I'm not, as I say, I mean, I've always been a bit vain, but now I want to be of the beauty. But it's not a judgment where, I mean, I'll still struggle with the photographs when they're from under my chin. And so I've certainly got the vanity, and my body's changed, and I'm struggling to get used to it. But I also, I feel, no, I want to radiate beauty. Look at those birds. Look at those. They're all being beautiful. It's my job to also be beautiful. Even in the physical sense. But I also know that the real beauty is in the radiance, and you can have these people who are like model covers that they've been photoshopped, even their faces, and they might have even had things done, and I don't feel a beauty necessarily from them unless they smile and they're open-hearted and they love, and some of these people who are very kind of physically distorted and they've got this lovely smile, then you see the physical beauty in them, even if they don't have the prescribed beauty. So it is a physical thing, but it's shaped by radiance.
Yes.
By radiance.
And Sally, I mean, you create beauty with your books. You put beauty back out into the world. Every time somebody reads one of your books, there's such a genuine sense of capturing something that imparts that sense of connection and love and offers hope and beauty and goodness and playfulness and fun and all of those things.
You're hired.
So, hey, and that's a gift.
Yeah.
That is a gift in itself, to be able to somehow you're able to take the beauty that exists within you and to assemble it in a way, and then to give it to other people and to share it with them. And there's such a magic in that.
And of
What
the
does it feel
Karoo.
like for you when you write a book and then other people read the book? What's that like?
No, it's lovely. And a lot of it is also the physical beauty of the Karoo, the birds and the trees and the dynamics and the interactions that I have with them. So a lot of Tannie Maria's kind of peak moments um, are ones that I've had, or variations of them. No, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. And there's the physical beauty of the place and of nature, but it's also of interactions between humans and relationship with the self, because Tannie Maria, like in this book, she struggles with the fear of the dark. In this next book, Wild Things Never Die, and her relationship to wilderness and fear and connection. And it is lovely to be able to share that in an accessible way, because I think I have some notions that are kind of my own epiphanies and feel really profound to me. But through Tannie Maria, who's so grounded and real, and overweight Tannie in her 50s. She's not like the supermodel, but she is very beautiful, and she's very kind, and she writes. Maybe I should give a little bit of background, actually, for those who don't know Tannie Maria. She's an agony aunt who lives in outside Ladysmith, and she writes for the Clay and Carew Gazette, and she writes Tannie Maria's love advice and recipe column, and people write in with their problems, and she writes back with some common sense, grounded advice. She's half Afrikaans, half English. Thank you in part to Annelle's advice, who read an early draft of my book. And the English to allow for her sort of quirky left field thinking. And she's got quite a left wing father who's died, and an Afrikaans conservative mother, and she loves to cook, and she gives recipes as part of her advice, and she gets involved in murder mysteries, and she works with her young journalist Jessie, and also with her, in this book, who's now her fiance Henk Kannemeyer, who's a policeman, and gets involved in solving murder mysteries. But in the process, so in this next book, she stays on, it's the Karoo Wilderness Reserve, which is based on Sunborna near Barrydale, and they're engaging in battles with the poachers, and there's a big theme of succulent poaching. So in a lot of the books, there's an environmental or political theme, but there's murders, and there's her own journey. So in each of the books, this is now book number 5, she's going through some personal journey. She was abused by her first husband, and she's just been going into a process of opening up, overcoming fear, connecting, love. There's various things she goes through in each book with different themes. And in this one, it's fear of the dark. And she's in this very wild place. She has some amazing encounters with the white lions of Sunborna. That's like a sort of this peak
Wow.
spiritual epiphany that she has at the top of this dune. Amazing lions. They're now dead, but I did get to meet them. And in each book, she's writing these recipes, she's solving murders, she's working through personal psychological things, and doing these this one's quite an active, running battles with poachers kind of stuff going on as well. So what I was saying is all this stuff that happens in my life that feels important or profound, politically, socially, spiritually, I then bring down to this very grounded, straight-talking Afrikaans Tannie. So everything she presents is very real and accessible and usually quite funny. In the next book, she also takes her hen, Henrietta, who's recovering from PTSD after her attack from a jackal in the previous book. So her hen comes with her, and her hen's working through a whole lot of issues and having nightmares and things. And she really wants Henk to sing a lullaby like he used to sing for his Lamekikosi. But there's a whole process around the hen and Tannie Maria, and through their stories, I can share these messages. So a lot of my stuff around grounding and electricity and the lightning process, I bring into the story of how she works through things. And she has this other advisor who was the main hero in the second book, the Satanic Mechanic, who's not a Satanist, but he was called that because he has snakes. And people are funny with their judgments. But he fixes cars as well as people. So he also comes in and he can give the sort of more esoteric mindfulness advice, which allows a little bit of that kind of talk to come into the Tannie's life and experience. And she writes letters to herself. And so we the things that she does to deal with her own fears are very doable and visible and less hard to grasp. So they're kind of like quite a how-to guidebook between the action and the stories and the humor. There's a lot of real, hey, I could do that, or let me try that. And it overlaps with whatever I'm going through. So this book was dealing with fear, and somehow, directly and indirectly, I cleared a lot of fear. I used to have fear every night. I'd wake up with this kind of terror in my tummy. And although I was well and physically well, this was disturbing me for a couple of years, and I've now don't have that anymore. And I can't say it's because of the book, but we choose these joint journeys and teach each other. So I teach Tannie Maria and she teaches me, and we hope it reaches other people. We hope we choose archetypal things that will help humans become more free range and enjoy beauty more. And be kind to each other. I mean, you might have seen on social media, Tannie Maria was nominated for a Nobel Prize for kindness. You did see
I
that.
did see that. Yes, I did. I did see that.
So that was on the 1st of April. But what was, which I thought, obviously this is an April Fool's joke. My mother believed it. My publisher believed it. There, like loads and loads of serious, considered people believed Tannie Maria was nominated for a Nobel Prize for Kindness. So
Amazing.
so for me, that's just like, wow, that's interesting that she can reach such a status that people can believe that. And then when I told them it's not true, then they'd say, yeah, but it is. We must make it so. And even that they didn't believe. It's like, no, what we've creating is carry on with our story we're making up. Let's make that story true.
Sally, I want to go back to the biofield tuning. We've sort of vaguely spoken about it, but you keep coming back to it, and it feels like such a central part of your healing journey and where you are now. And it sounds like it's in your books, and it's with the old Tannie that you're sitting with, and it's so present in who you are right now. Please tell us a little bit about biofield tuning and what it means to you and what
Okay.
it's done for you.
So for people who want to look it up more, there's a website. It's not mine, but I'm on it as a practitioner, www.biofieldtuning.com. So biofield, I guess, is the science name for aura, which is the electric field around us, but more, it's kind of people trying to come from a more sciencey approach to doing woo stuff with a science approach. But we know our brains are electric. We know our hearts are electric, and we are basically saltwater batteries. We've got positive and negative poles above our head and below at our feet, and we've got a field around us that looks a bit like an apple. It's called a torus. So we know that the sun has a heliosphere, the earth has a magnetosphere, and as humans, we have what we're calling a biofield. So just even that notion alone of ourselves as electric is a huge thing. It turns out when I looked up my Mayan astrological sign that I'm a white electric wizard. And I just found that so cool. I said, yeah, okay, that's what, when you said, who are you? I should have said, yeah, I'm a white electric wizard. Because I like that title. And that's your astrology, like your Libra, etc. And so so just the notion that we're electric, that we have a charge, and when we get fully charged up, we need to discharge. We need to breathe. And then imagine the air going down your legs into the earth. So that's a discharge breath. And if you're barefoot on the ground, you don't get so stressed because you are discharging. But you're also receiving energy up from the earth. And you're receiving energy down from the sun and the stars. The stars are shining on us 24/7, whether we're looking at them in the Karoo at night or not. We're getting light. And we're getting light from the earth, and the light also bounces down into the earth and then bounces up again. So you can measure the sunlight goes down into the earth and up. So that's your weak positive charge, getting strong positive from above, getting weak positive from below. And we've got the central column that flows up and flows down, spiraling around each other like every electric thing works. So just first of all, that concept is good. And then now the amazing thing with these tuning forks is they work like these little baby dolphins with resonance and entrainment. Let's see if I've got any with me. Oh, no, I haven't. But they're a tuning fork. Look like you know what a tuning fork looks like. And I'm sure you've seen when you hit one fork of 528 and there's another one sitting there, it will start to resonate in the same sound. It will pick up. You've got two forks, 5 to 8 hertz. You hit this one will start to respond. There's a resonance that happens with sound, and we're more matter. We're more energy than matter. We are waves as well as particles. There is more nothing than something, in terms of what we can define. We are vibrations. We are movements. So to work with sound makes sense to me in terms of engaging with us as vibratory electric beings. And when I hit a tuning fork, it works with resonance and entrainment. So it picks up an area in the field that is a bit off. And I can hear it with my ear. I can feel it in the fork and the vibration, and I can feel it in my body. And then it works with entrainment. This is the theory of how it works. I don't really know. These are just stories. But this is what the philosophy of Eileen McCusick is, who founded Biofield Tuning. There's also loads of free stuff of hers on YouTube for people who are interested, and actual tunings you can receive, and talks, Sonic Sunday talks. Anyway, so it works with resonance. It picks up on something, and you can actually hear like music that's sad. It goes, ooh. The fork will, if it's picking up on a sad area, it'll go, ooh, and fear, it'll go, woo, 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 woo. So it picks up, resonates with, and then it entrains. So it returns you to your natural, harmonious sound and state. And we work with forks, for example, the Schumann resonance, which is the vibration of the earth as hit by lightning. The hum of the earth is Schumann resonance. Note the electric and the lightning theme, and the Fibonacci pair. So we're using certain kind of almost archetypal sounds to remind us what normal kind of sounds like. But the way I experience the work is, well, firstly, to explain a little bit. So in this little field around you, like the rings of the tree, the information of the beginning of your life is at the edge of your field. Halfway through is halfway through your life, close to your body. If this is the body, the core of the apple, that's the more recent stuff. So you literally can move, you bring a fork and we do what we call combing. So here's the body and you move through towards the body. And you're picking up areas of static or dysfunction and you're clearing them, you're grounding them. So I will experience, when I do the sound work, I pick up on an emotion and I breathe it down into the ground. I might tremble and I'll clear it into the ground, breathe it, and then then it clears and the sound gets, that where it was all flat and miffed becomes bright and clear, and then you bring it, and you drop it into the body. So you're restoring light. There's also a theory that under stress you release photons, and we're magnetically using sound to pick up the photons and put them in the body. And then there's like a map of certain things that you find in the field around the body. So around the left shoulder, off the left shoulder, you feel things more to do with sadness and loss, and on the right shoulder more to do with responsibility, and the right hip to do with overdoing and overthinking, and the left hip to do with frustrated non-doing, and your left foot to do with where you're stuck, and your right foot knee to do with where you're stepping forward. So there's kind of a little bit of a map that you find similarly with different people. So you tune into where you need to work today, and it offers up, you don't clean the whole house at once. It offers up that which is ready and willing to be clear today. And it's kind of a contract you enter into with someone energetically or on a soul level or whatever you call it, the non-body, the ether. And then the craziest that, which will then like help people see me as completely crazy, is that you can do it at a distance. And this I didn't believe in at all, and nor did the founder, but when she started testing it. So those are the theories. So my experience is feeling, releasing, sometimes images I get that I share, but the outcome is people healing of stuff, mental stuff, physical stuff, thyroid problems, back pains, all sorts of things. So I don't really kind of care what the theory is. I care that it makes me feel good because I become this open channel and I feel the lightning move through me. Peter Van Straten's got a nice painting of the lightning at it. Ooh. Sometimes feel a bit like that. And it feels good for me. I get energized so long as I ground, and I only do 1 or 2 tunings a day, and the results. And sometimes even we only check in afterwards. We agree to a time, I work on it, and I say, I felt this. And they say, wow, I also felt that. And I say, I felt this. And they say, yeah, now that's pain's gone. So it's been really fun, and it seems to work. And the theories are just theories. But it's also like we've created this morphic field. If you follow Rupert Sheldrake, he'll talk about how you set up a morphic field. So this has become true because we make it so.
Yeah. Yeah, and Rupert Sheldrake is also family constellations and all of that nonsense that I do with working with ancestral energies and
Yeah.
working in your field. It's all the same,
Also the
all
field
based
work.
on the
Okay.
same idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've yet to do one. I'd love to do that. I'd still like to do one. Because in the tuning work, we also pick up, there's a river of ancestral information. So we sometimes work with that as well. And you feel it. And once you open yourself to feeling stuff and you repeatedly have confirmation that it's not just an imagining, then you get better at it. And then you can. So now, for example, I do like my TV series people, when they have a big meeting, they say, please, will you do a project tuning? Because I pick up, this X is happening with this actor and with this director, and then they say, wow, that's exactly what's happening, and then it helped to flow freely. But it's all about noticing stuckness and flow. And in the process, you get information which you can maybe share or not share. And it does usually take a few sessions for something chronic, but also it can be like sometimes I do group sessions in half an hour and we measure people like what's your calm energy and joy out of 10, and they move from like 3 to 9 in half an hour. And in theory, it stays because you're removing blocks to your own electric flow. You're becoming more of
Yeah.
yourself. You're receiving the support for yourself. And a lot of it is, I've noticed that what I said about the worthiness is people, like there's this light coming in from beneath, from the earth, from spirit, from above. And people say, but I'm not worthy of this, They've got that belief system. It's like, no, I'm going to be too, I'm not worthy of greatness, or I'm not worthy of just receiving. And that's just a big thing to clear. And sadly, we've been brought up in ways that people have been belittled and belittle each other. And that's, so I'll also sometimes feel the belief system. And I might mention it, or I might just ground it, clear it energetically if it's coming up. Or I might say, hey, there's this little voice saying this. It doesn't sound like it's yours. And I might say, yeah, my grandma used to say that. Let's let go of that now, shall we? And then you can sometimes also almost use sound to vacuum something out, send it off and replace it with light. And it's vibrations combined with story.
Yeah. And how apt in relation to your history and your background and your story. It feels like such a natural conclusion in terms of your healing work and your own healing for it to come together in biofield tuning, Sally.
I don't know, to me it feels like completely crazy. Picking up forks and working with electricity is like,
So, Sally,
but it
before we
works.
to finish us off, tell us when does your book launch? Where can we get it? Tell us the
So when are
details.
we gonna broadcast this?
Probably in the early May.
Okay, cool. Then we can still invite people to Exclusive Books Claremont on the 7th
Yes.
of May. Where I practice, I'll give you the first line of what song I'm practicing. Wild things never die. That's just the first line, which is the title of the song. So I've had to make up a few more
Love it.
lines.
Yes.
And sorry, my brain's still going to. Am I going to wear will I be able to get some? Just remember to get some speckworm here to make a little speckworm crown. So it's, because I say it's about succulent poaching. So it will be at Exclusive Books. Pippa Hudson will be interviewing me, and that'll be at
Will there be
5:30.
cake?
There's always cake at my launches. There's always cake. I don't know what kind of cake. I'm so hoping Varushka will cater. She's amazing. And then there are a number of different launches. I'm not sure where this is broadcast, but there are launches in Wellington. I'll be attending the France Chocolatory Festival. There'll be launches in Joburg, in Pretoria. I'll be attending the Kingsmead Book Fair. Then I'll be attending the Hermanus Fine Arts Festival. And I will be visiting a number of places in the South Cape from Mossel Bay, George Neisner Plett in June. And then there'll be another launch on the 18th of June at Kirstenbosch, together with the Botanical Society, because they were quite involved. And I've got a leaflet in this book about succulent poaching. And I will send all that info to you so people can see it and have the RSVP details, because it would be lovely to have some more free-range humans there, because we are all free-range humans. So it'd
Yay!
be lovely if you come to those launches and sing along with me.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time to sit with me today. I feel very honored. Thank you so much.
I really was looking forward to it. Like, I know all the things I've got ahead. I'm like on show and I've got to perform, and they're real performances of an aspect of me, but it's not really like, oh, I just get to be myself and chat with a friend. So thank you. I feel it's helping prepare me and remind me of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, so that I can enter into it with more ease and grace and less sleepless nights and worry about minor little boring details.